a special meeting whereby we'll hear from our guest here in a few minutes. On behalf of everyone up here, I hope you all had a blessed Easter, and we all look forward to the warm spring and summer days ahead. So, during which time we'll probably be driving up and down US 17 at some point. And tonight, Mark Finlayson is with us. Mark has been the spearhead for development of the road system along US Highway 17, and he's here to bring us up to speed on where things are and what we can look forward to in the near future. So, Mark, again, nice to have you back for your annual visit and report, and we look forward to what you have to say.
Mayor Vaughn, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Always good to be back in Edenton among friends, and you guys have been steadfast supporters of ours from the beginning, which we greatly appreciate. And I'm always happy to bring good news, and I think that's what we'll hear tonight. A couple of years ago, as you recall, we added some of the localities in the US 64 corridor between Wake County and Williamston that coincided with the designation of Interstate 87, which of course will track 64 to Williamston and 17 to Hampton Roads. Nash County, Edgecombe County have come aboard and joined our original US 17 corridor municipalities and counties to make us even stronger than what we were before. Rocky Mount as well. We now have 3 congressional districts. We have 8 North Carolina State Senate districts and 16 state House districts that are represented among our corridor counties. So when we go to Raleigh and we talk, and incidentally, by the way, 4 highway divisions, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when we go to Raleigh and talk to the General Assembly, or go to Washington and talk to our congressional delegation, or go to the Board of Transportation meetings, we're well represented by people that care about our corridors and the work we're doing. So we're happy that we're stronger and bigger than we were. Since we started this enterprise in 2006, we've come quite a long way. I included in your package in front of you a couple of maps at the back. If you were to take a look at those maps, the one that's dated May 2015, which is really pretty recent, had 17 projects that we were tracking along the US 17 corridor. But if you look at the other map, which is dated June 2018, there are 35 projects listed on the corridor. That's the most we've ever had. That coincides with a big push by the department to get a backlog of funds in their accounts pushed out the door and actually building highways across North Carolina instead of collecting interest. So that was our part of what was about a $2 billion investment by the state in road building. Over the years, we've seen in excess of $2 billion invested in our projects, of which 644, almost $650 million had been unfunded on the STIP, the State Transportation Improvement Program. So we persuaded DOT to make that level of investment in our projects over the 13 or 14 years we've been in business. So we're very proud of that, and I think justifiably so. These are the projects that have been opened since we started this work: Wilmington Bypass, Jacksonville Bypass, New Bern Bypass, southern leg, Washington Bypass, Windsor Bypass, and work in Brunswick County, across the Brunswick River there where Brunswick and New Hanover come together, Onslow County improvements north of Jacksonville, and Craven County improvements in the Bridgeton area. So when you look at that step, I actually need to update that slide. It's 35 projects. When you look at the step currently, the 2018 to 2027 rolling 10-year plan, 35 projects worth in excess of $2 billion, and 17 are considered fully or partially deliverable. And what that means is that either the right-of-way or the construction or both occur in the first 5 years of the 10-year plan. That means that the department is 90+% sure that it will deliver those projects within that time frame. If the funding occurs in the second 5 years of the 10-year plan, then the plans indicate that the project is important and should be considered, but it has to be evaluated the next time there's a step. So that's sort of the breaking point. We want to push as many projects forward in the plan as possible to make sure that we get them guaranteed. Now, just mention a couple of the projects that are very important in the corridor that we're tracking. One of them is the Hampstead Bypass. This has been going on for a long time, had some environmental concerns around the foraging habitat of the red cockaded woodpecker, but I think we've solved that, and that's going forward with right-of-way acquisition now and construction in 2021. We'll be able to get all the way around the bottleneck at Hampstead, and it'll actually tie into the military cutoff extension project in Wilmington, and it'll allow you to either get on the Wilmington bypass and head toward Myrtle Beach if that's your destination, or if you're going to Wilmington or to Wrightsville Beach, just zip right down a military cutoff and go that way. So that's a big project that we've been following for a long time. This one is very exciting to me as somebody who lives in Craven County. This Jones County project that's literally been 3 or 4 decades in the making is going to be done before the end of this year. And we'll be able to ride on a 4-lane divided highway between New Bern and Jacksonville. It's going to save time, it's going to be safer, and it's going to create, I think, economic opportunity for Jones County, which desperately needs it. So we're very excited about that project, and it's finally going to happen. Let me put it the other way around. She actually owes me a ride. One of the county commissioners in Jones County swore to me that she would never drive on that road because it would never happen. So we made a bet. I said, if it happens, you have to drive me. And if it doesn't happen, it's a moot point, but she's going to be driving me later this year. A couple of projects in Craven and Beaufort counties. Basically, the way to get from Vanceboro to Chocowinity, or from Bridgeton to Chocowinity along existing 17. The 2513 project, the one at the bottom, has been programmed for the southernmost segment of the road. It's about 4 or 5 miles, and that's not as much as we need to do on that project, but because we got the first segment programmed, that means that the department can do the environmental document for the entire 20 miles. And that's a 3-year process that is going to go ahead and get done so that when the money becomes available, we'll be ready to go. We'll have the permitting document in place. This is the segment between Washington and Williamston, the 10 miles between Old Ford and where the Williamston bypass begins. That's now fully funded, $72 million. The right-of-way is underway now. Construction starts next year. So that will mean that every mile north of Chocowinity will be 4-lane all the way to Virginia.
Access to, or just is it going to be?
It's not going to be fully controlled access. It's going to be limited. It's going to be better than it is now,
But it's not going to be high, so it's going to be 55.
might carry 60.
Okay.
But you're still going to have some people that are going to have to be able to turn right onto the road, but there won't be any left-hand turns across traffic anymore. You'll have a few of those Michigan turn situations throughout there. It would be better if it was fully controlled, and it will have to be eventually, by the way, to coincide with the interstate designation. And that's, of course, the next big thing. We worked with the congressional delegation, and Representative Butterfield was very instrumental in helping us with that, getting the designation in the Surface Transportation Act called the FAST Act in 2015. Governor McCrory unveiled the sign several years ago. He did it right here, as a matter of fact. Many of you were there. Great event. The two feasibility studies are completed, one from the Beltline in Raleigh to Williamston and the other from Williamston to Hampton Roads. But only one interstate upgrade project is currently funded in the STIP, so we've got work to do, but at least we have a goal set now. And because the road is designated, the state is somewhat obligated to get that work done within 20 or 25 years or show good faith that it's getting done. So we want to hold the state accountable for that. These are the two projects that we think about when we're talking about upgrading the existing road. One of them, of course, is on either side of the Chowan River Bridge, and that y'all are very concerned about. It was programmed in the last STIP. It was dropped from the current STIP, so we need to get that restored. That is about a $43 million project to upgrade the existing divided 4-lane to interstate standards. That means you need to widen the shoulders, widen the median in some cases, put crash barriers up, and appropriate lighting and signage. And if there are ramps, they need to be long enough to allow full speed ingress or enough time to slow down on egress. The upgrade project that is currently in the STIP is the Camden County project. Actually takes in a little bit of Pasquotank too. It's programmed for right-of-way in 2025, but it's not yet deliverable because it's in that second half of the 10 years. But at least it's on there. So we're going to track both of those. One of the jobs I have, in addition to the 17 Association, is I chair the board of NCGO, which is the statewide transportation advocacy organization. It's our job at NCGO to help DOT and the legislature find the funding to pay for a 21st century transportation system. And our theory is if we have a seat at the table, we have an opportunity to speak up for rural transportation, which doesn't always happen in Raleigh when the Charlotte and Raleigh folks get together. But I think it's important for us to get our share, and I think it's important for North Carolina to make smart decisions that will benefit everybody, whether you live in a metropolitan place and have to deal with congestion, or whether you live in a place like Chowan County that needs infrastructure investment to create economic opportunity. So all those things are important, and that's what we do through NCGO. One of the things that I'm very excited to talk about is the fact that we sponsored with the DOT their inaugural North Carolina Transportation Summit, which occurred in January. And I was honored to be on the stage welcoming about 1,000 transportation people from all over the country, along with Governor Cooper and Secretary Trogdon. So that was quite an honor for me, and I think quite a good stroke for NCGO to be a part of that. There's another one coming up next January as well, and I encourage you to come if you can. We're also going to be promoting new work that will begin very soon by the department. It's called the North Carolina First Commission. I got a presentation sent to me from Raleigh the other day. The lady who is key staff to that commission is going to be at our US 1764 board meeting tomorrow in New Bern, to talk about the rollout. And so I've got kind of a preview of that. But it's a way for the state to look at revenue for a new transportation system that's not so dependent upon the gas tax, but takes into account the disruptors in the transportation system that we're experiencing in the 21st century. The mission statement of this commission says that the NC First Commission's mission is to utilize the research of national and international trends to advise the Secretary of Transportation of the potential components of a sustainable long-range transportation investment strategy that will provide the critical and necessary resources to build and maintain North Carolina's future transportation system to ensure the state's economic vitality and competitiveness in the future. It's got commissioners that represent local government, business, academia, finance, and at least the rural interests are represented by Patrick Woody, who chairs the North Carolina Rural Center. Jim Trogdon and Tony Lathrop, who is NC DOT board member, chairs the Finance Committee, will serve as key resources. See if I can find some of the key components. One of the things the department's dealing with, and it's not unique to North Carolina, but it's happening all over the country, indeed the world, really. The 20th century transportation model was that everybody owned a car, and when you went someplace, you got in your car and drove. That's not the case anymore. People are using what they call seamless mobility that includes cars, it includes public transit, it includes ride sharing, it includes ride hire like Lyft and Uber, it includes the last mile transportation solutions like scooters and bikes that you can rent with a credit card. All those things, plus the fact that the fleet of automobiles that people drive now are less and less dependent on fossil fuel and more dependent on electricity or a hybrid version that uses less gas and incorporates an electric battery into that system. So the revenue stream for gas tax is going down. In fact, the revenue stream for people buying automobiles is going down because people are just not as interested in owning a car. So with all those things changing the way people get around, it has to change the way the state collects revenue. So this commission, which just got appointed and will hold its first meeting in May, will be looking at those new revenue options, and so we're excited to be a part of that effort, and we'll keep you posted about that. Well, that's it. So I'm happy to take questions. Always delighted to see you, and fire away.
Mark, I don't have a question for you, but I know Steve and I have been up here for a long time, and I remember going to New Bern on many occasions, and we'd sit around and we'd have lunch, and we'd rub elbows with people in the legislature and that sort of thing. But the organized effort that has taken place under your leadership has really transformed the success of this effort. I mean, the map that you have shown us with the increase in the number of projects in just 3 years is nothing short of astounding. And I will say this too, that this man he doesn't slow down. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He keeps going after this project full force, and we're seeing the fruits of his labors and his ability to attract not only communities like ours, which have been, as you mentioned, part of this effort for a long, long time, but the traction that we've gained over the last few years is really, really good. And we always look forward to you coming back, because we know, or anticipate anyway, that you have a good story to tell us, and this is certainly one of them. I do have one question. Your handouts refer to dollars spent. Do you have any idea how many miles of 4-lane have been added since your tenure began?
Yeah. When we started this, there were still about 50 miles of 2-lane road. And right now we've, once we get through Jones County at the end of the year, 6 months or so from now, we'll be down to the last 20. So we will have knocked off 30 of the 50 miles in 13 years.
That's cool.
The last, the 10 miles between Washington and Williamston are fully funded and programmed. So that's going to start next year. You'll see dirt being moved. The last 10 or 20 miles between basically Vanceboro and Chocowinity is the last link in the chain, but at least we've got the first segment of that programmed, and it's very encouraging. So it'll happen in my lifetime now that I'm, Yes, sir.
I ask you this every time. What do you think will be quicker to go by 17 to Wilmington than it is to go by Greenville from here?
Right now.
Oh, well, I don't think there's going to be any question that it's going to be quicker to go by 17.
When do you think that'll happen?
Well, you still, once Jones County's open, that's going to save you 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay.
When Hampstead gets done, you're going to be able to be there in no time. I'm confident that when we get all this work done, you'll save 45 minutes between now and between here and Wilmington.
That's a lot of savings.
That's impressive.
That's really impressive. Hey, when do you think that'll be?
2025 or 6-ish.
Okay.
So. Yeah, it'll be here before we know it.
I will say that somehow or another, I was elected the vice president of this group. I think somebody was asleep at the wheel, but anyhow, and I do, I do say often that Mark wakes up every morning thinking about Highway 17, because when I went on this board in 2002, I think it was, Bob Spivey, who was the former mayor of Windsor, had been on this board for years, and we were riding to Washington one day, and he said, I think the governor put me on this board in 1965, and it was called the Ocean Highway. He said, and our mission was to 4-lane 17 from border to border. So we aren't doing too well on it. And like you said, we used to go and have lunch and leave, but certainly with Mark's leadership, and he's got one staff person. So between Mark and one staff person, they're getting all this done, and again, he's chairman of NCGO, so that puts us at the table a lot that we wouldn't get at also. So Mark, thanks a million for all that you do for us.
Thank you for your service. Gentlemen, Anne Marie, any other questions? Appreciate the time. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Okay, we'll roll into our committee meetings now as they are scheduled, beginning with administrative, and that's chaired by Councilman Biggs. Please, sir.
Well, Mayor, we have two items on the agenda tonight. The first item is something that we have certainly been talking a lot about over the past several months, is the short-term rental ordinance. And Anne Marie sent this out to some people who have short-term rentals, and also to some of our traditional B&Bs, and was trying to get some feedback. This is certainly a draft amendment, and we are going to continue to work on this draft amendment. Again, send it to the planning board to have them look at it, if I'm correct, is what the intent for this will be. But we did want to get the amendment out so that all concerned could look at it. And if you have any questions or any comments, certainly put them out tonight. Anne Marie, I don't know if you've got any of an update that you'd like to add to this.
Sure,
Okay.
just was chatting with Diane, the owner of Captain's Quarters, and before the meeting, and asked had she had a chance to review the latest revision, and she said she had, and she asked a few questions about the fire code, and I think some of the things that she brought up we'll talk with the fire chief, and even though, for instance, in the town code, we require all commercial, any residential dwelling unit that's rented to have a smoke alarm. We probably ought to put that requirement in this ordinance, as Diane said, just to re-emphasize how important safety is. So there are a couple other tweaks that we'll probably make, but I think we're making progress. We're still willing and want to hear feedback, and we want to get it right.
One thing, and I had this come up with a house that I was dealing with Ann Perry on. Have we had the building inspector look at this also to make sure that if there's any codes that the state has? For an example, if you have X amount of bedrooms or rentable rooms in one house, and you have a detached house that doesn't have a walkway or a breezeway to it or whatever, then the detached house has to be sprinkled. We were totally shocked to find that out, which kind of cost us a really nice B&B in the area, and a farm-to-table restaurant, the whole works. So I don't know, maybe you might want to run this
We'll do
also
that.
by
Sure.
the building inspector and
That's
have them look at it.
a good suggestion.
Yeah, I got,
Yes, sir.
I just got a couple, I've been hearing a lot about this, and so it's my understanding that they have to have proof of insurance, of liability insurance, but that's okay to have it if Airbnb provides it. I think it's dumb for people to have two different policies. If they're covered by a policy, then they're covered by a policy. And I think that's what Elizabeth has done with this new, with the new draft. That's one thing. And then the other thing is hang on, let's see.
I will say one thing on the insurance though, Sambo, and this is just general conversation, people really need to check with their insurance companies if they're doing this, because, they had some major blowouts in Manio and down that way that a lot of people were not covered that thought they were covered.
Yeah, and I think we need to encourage them to do that.
Yeah,
But that's not really I think that's not really what we.
Something
we gotta
happens.
do. The other thing is, okay, so there's something here about parking and not having any recreational vehicle, and I sort of understand that. But do we have somewhere they could park? Like if somebody's pulling a boat, I don't think they ought to not be able to rent, because I guess they rent an inn. So if somebody's pulling a boat, or small, little, like these bicycles, they pull things, that are coming in here, or they're pulling something, that'll be somewhere they can drop that. We have a designated place to put that, and I don't know whether that goes for the inns, or also, I don't know whether you can have a recreational vehicle when you're in the inn. And I'm sort of asking that question out loud, but if we had a place to go, then, or put them.
Yeah, I don't think RVs are not supposed to be parked in public parking spaces. And I'm trying to remember about boats on trailers, but I don't think they're supposed to be parked for an extended period on the street parking, I should say, rather than say a parking lot.
Yeah, I understand that. I just wondered if there's somewhere we could, have a designated place to let people drop their auxiliary vehicle or whatever it is, and then they go, whether it's to an inn or to somewhere else.
I think the little marina, would rent a spot for somebody to, it's something we could certainly talk to them about. They rent spaces now for boats.
Maybe I just think that,
Might be.
I don't know, can somebody park a boat at an inn now? I mean, I don't know whether that's within our regulations or not.
We wouldn't regulate it if it's their private parking
Okay.
space.
So would we not regulate it if it's the B&B's private park? Okay, because it says if it can be seen, that's what.
But it's gotta be off the street, right?
Yes,
Well, I know
it's gotta
that,
be
but
off the street.
what it says is,
Look at the
should be
wording.
parked on the, or visible on the property. That's what,
Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly.
I don't know whether we take that out or whatever.
Sure, look at it.
Or just look at it, that was something that I looked at.
That applies to automobiles right now, doesn't it? Because I've seen a few violations, I think.
We do have a non-improved surface. They can't be
Parking
parked
in the
on unimproved
Town right
surface
away, I've seen some of those.
or in the right of way.
From a hospitality standpoint, some of these short-term rentals would like to have a little snack package in the room, possibly coffee pot, what have you. I know we're not into food service, but is that considered food service?
No, we took that out. We got a
Okay.
lot of pushback on that, so that's
That's out. Okay.
out. We define prepared meals as being not allowed, but
But snacks in the basket sealed, no, that could be considered, okay.
But if you're preparing a meal for sale in an establishment, don't you have to have a commercial, your kitchen has to be up to commercial
Yes,
grade?
that's right.
Right.
So no bottles of wine or champagne or coffee or,
It's just not
It's not
prepared or
enough.
served.
Yeah.
okay.
So they can put ice cream in the freezer or Diet Cokes in the
Yes.
refrigerator, yeah.
Okay.
Now, he just brought up something with alcohol. Do you have to have permits to serve alcohol?
Wow. Way we
To-
prepare or serve is what the language we got. So they're not serving it.
Diane's shaking her head.
I believe, for them, if they want, any inn or any establishment, if you want to give a bottle of wine to your guests, you have to have an alcohol permit.
Okay.
And they can
Your
bring
beer
their own.
permit's one permit, your alcohol is one permit, your wine's one permit, pork's another permit. So you have to, you can't, as we had a situation with another establishment in town where they wanted to serve wine, you have, not even serve wine, but just to have it there. If the guests
Provide it.
wanted it,
Yeah.
or provide it, you need to have a license.
Steve, I just want to thank Elizabeth and Anne Marie for all the effort and time they've put in on this revision of the ordinance. Thank you for that.
Any other questions or comments? If not, then we'll let you continue on with what y'all are doing, and we'll get it back to planning, and then get it back to us, and see where we go from
Do
there.
you think it'll go to planning board next month?
Do you want to formally put this on the May agenda for the council to send it to the planning board, or do you want us to go ahead and send it to the planning board?
I would think send it to the planning board and then let us have it back, just in case there's something that,
And the public will have a chance to speak again
At
the
public,
planning.
yeah.
at the planning. I mean, I just want to make sure everybody can talk about it.
and I certainly want the building inspector to be able to look at it also.
Because, I mean, I'm a little bit conflicted about the age. I mean, I think if you go to war, you ought to be able to rent an Airbnb, but I mean, I understand. You're military and you're, I mean, but. You take that out, I agree.
Is that good with?
That's good.
Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, and next on our agenda is the Lead NC Fellowship Program that Anne Marie sent out to us. And I read over this, and then this afternoon I had the opportunity to have a conversation with a young lady that works for us that went through a program almost like this, but hers was through the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and she was a one-year fellow or intern, and it actually worked out great for us, and it was it was so good for us that we ended up hiring. So, you know, I think any time that you can get a full-time person who has, and as we used to say, this is one man's opinion, but I've seen it at work. When you can get one person for $10,000 and somebody else is providing the other $29,000.
That's a good deal.
I don't know how you can go wrong unless we just get the absolute worst person that we can get. And I know that's not going to happen, but.
This is a 2-year commitment.
It is a 2-year commitment, but they're searching for the second-year money right now.
Okay.
They can't guarantee us that, from what I read, so, but the first year, yes, it's $10,000 and we receive a $29,000 subsidy.
Question on that then, do we have to sign a 2-year contract
No,
with the employee?
no, sir.
Okay, so.
From what I read, it was a 1 year, and then if they get the money,
It
Okay,
is.
we'll sign on for the
I
second
just
year.
didn't want to create an obligation that.
Right.
Would you have your choice to hire? Or-
Yes, we'll interview, and then they will become a full-time town employee, and they'll fall under our personnel policy, and after, 6 months evaluation, if
Evaluation,
they're not performing up to expectations, so it's not like we have to keep somebody if
Right.
they're not performing.
Right.
So.
I'm sure you got a bunch of ideas how they could be utilized.
We do, and department heads are,
Go.
it's like,
We want
wow, all those projects that we've had to kind of put on the back shelf because we didn't have time to do, so.
Well,
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'd personally like to see us send this on to
Send it on.
full council
Right.
to accept this. When you said they become an employee, but the way I read this, there's X amount of dollars out of the $29,000 that allots them, or there's more money that comes in to allot them the opportunity to buy their own insurance, not.
We won't have to provide
Right,
insurance,
right,
right,
okay.
right, but they'll fall under our personnel policy.
Okay,
so.
okay.
Well, on that point though, what I read was you either provide like $3,000 to buy insurance, or you put them under the policy that you have for the rest of your employees.
Yeah, but
Did I read that wrong?
no, I think you did, but we wouldn't, our insurance is more than 3,000, so we would,
I got you.
All right, Mayor, that's all we have tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Both good items. And that LEAD program, I'm delighted the state of North Carolina is doing that because it's a universal problem. I mean, we encountered it out there in Seattle talking to other small towns and so forth that are just struggling to get young people involved with their
It's a
local
great
government.
opportunity for the young people.
I mean, look at us. What's our average age?
Old.
Oh, yeah. I won't.
Let's don't go there.
my age.
Let's still go there, yeah.
But did you notice one of the stats that over 70% of employees that are in management could retire today if they wanted to?
Yeah.
70%.
Yes,
That'd be a wicked leave.
That was pretty interesting. Okay, thank you, sir. Now we move to our Finance Committee meeting, and that'll be chaired by Councilman Dixon, please, sir.
So we have 5 things, and it's more than we usually have, but they're pretty easy. The first thing is the budget amendment for the fuel purchases, and that was in our packet. I think, unless anybody has anything to say, but we'll send that on to full council.
Gotta do it.
Second thing is, I just applaud Anne Marie for this debt management policy. I'm sure everybody read it. I think its objectives are great, and that's sort of spelled out in the first ABCD, and exactly why we're doing this. I think we all know what happened, and I think it's a very good document. I don't know whether we need to talk about it any more than that, but I think it's fantastic.
well, and the policies, you're formalizing what you have been operating under. And one of the coaches that's been helping us from the league, dealing with the LGC, thought that this would be something that would be well received. And just for examples, the policy states that in the general fund, the there would be no more than 15% of the total general fund budget allocated for debt. And when you do those numbers, based on our general fund total, you could, and having a 15% cap, you could have up to $825,000 in debt. However, you only have $387,000, and $260,000 of that is for the police department, which is a 15-year note, which will be paid off before you know it. In water and sewer, you would have the capacity to have $500,000 in debt, and including the debt for the upgrades to the water treatment plant, you'll be at $250,000. So you're well below the limits that you're setting. The electric department, you could have up to $1.8 million in debt, and you could just have a bucket truck payment, a 5-year note. So, but we're working on some big ideas for when we get a new director for a smart grid. So you'll have some capacity there.
Yeah, that spreadsheet was really good.
Yeah, very
It
good.
gave you a lot of insight as to year by year what your obligations are, and in fact, way down in the bottom in the tiny print was what you were just talking about. We were well below the thresholds, which is a good thing.
So I assume everybody wants to send it on to full council.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And then the next item is the recommendation, the condemnation of the Hannibal Batham House at 116 East Gale Street. That's what turn that over to you, Anne Marie.
Yes, we've been, this house is, as you know, is in the East Gale Street Neighborhood Redevelopment Zone. It's also in our historic district, and it is an incredibly important structure from a standpoint of architectural history and our African American history. The State Preservation Office, when they were here recently, probably about 3 months ago, became alarmed at the amount of decline the structure. The decline is accelerating faster, and so they're very concerned. We've been working with the family for many, many years. Unfortunately, the owner passed away about 3 years ago, and his heirs have been trying to put together a plan, and we've been trying to work with them and help them and offer them guidance on contractors, and but we're at the point where we offered or granted so many extensions, we feel like we need to go ahead and take action. I did let the owner know that we were getting ready to talk to the town attorney, which we did last week, and kind of outlined the process. And depending on what you all decide to do tonight, we'll certainly let her know what your action is. But I think in order to save the structure, we need to act sooner rather than later. And this would be an action that the redevelopment commission would take. So if you're willing to consider that, we would schedule at your next meeting a meeting of the redevelopment commission for you to take action. There was another party that is very interested in purchasing the house and had offered more money than what our appraisal, what you would pay for it. So maybe our action will stimulate some discussion and dialogue there, because we certainly want her to get the best deal that she can.
I hope we can save it.
It's one of the most
It's-
important houses in this town,
Yeah.
from historic view.
Yes.
But we gotta move the process along,
Yeah.
or
Oh, we're
it'll
not
be
gonna-
on the ground.
That's right.
It won't be important to anybody.
We're not gonna be able to save it.
Yeah.
So I guess anybody have any qualms about sending it to full council?
I don't have any qualms about sending it. I guess my biggest thing is, we're looking at $23,000 to pay them for the place, and they've got a $38,000 mortgage.
Right.
So how do they go about, if they've got that much mortgage and the house is only worth 23, how are they gonna go about trying to find more money to fix the house up?
Maybe the other party would buy out the mortgage. what is it, it's $38,000, right?
The offer was a little bit more than that, than the mortgage.
The offer was.
Okay, good. We need to get that rolling then.
Okay, so
Sooner the better, yeah.
send that on to full council. And then the fourth thing on is Michael Reardon's yacht, the building reuse grant. We need to authorize Anne Marie to sign that. Do you have anything you need to?
I just want to review the terms and conditions. This grant, when it was approved by the Rural Infrastructure Authority, they are requiring that before any grant money will be remitted to the town, to be remitted back to the company, that all 50 jobs that are to be created will have to have been created and will have to have been sustained for at least 6 months.
Before any of the money is given to us.
Yes, and then, there's also the requirement that the property owner signs a provision, the clawback provision, saying that if the jobs are not created, that he would be responsible to pay the difference. But really, they're not going to be able to get any money until the jobs are created. So I think we're in good shape there.
What's going on right now inside that structure?
They are building that yacht. Remember
Okay,
when
right.
Mr. Reardon came and,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
so
under,
that's
in production.
in production, okay.
Yes. We're scheduling a visit for the partnership because we have requested the ECP to fund the match, and they are scheduled to formally act on that at their meeting in early May, and we're trying to get a tour for the partnership board prior to that, so I'll let you all know when
Yeah,
that is.
please do.
If you'd like to join us, I'm sure that would be welcomed.
I think it's May 2nd.
Okay.
Send that on.
Anne Marie, in this, I realize that it says he's got to create the jobs and have them for 6 months, but let's say he creates 25 jobs and they stay on for 6 months. Does he get 250,000? He's got to completely have all.
50, goodness.
Well, as we have seen from our friends out at Jimbo's, this might be a daunting task for him. Because you get people in and they stay 2 months and they're gone, or they stay 3 months and they're gone, and then that person doesn't count. Or someone else comes along and stays 3 months, that don't mean that 2 of them came and stayed for 6 months total and it counts. So, I know y'all have been over this with him 100 times, I'm sure, but.
Does he have a plan in place
It's
to
gotta be a.
find employees? I mean, these are skilled, they'd be skilled workers.
He does, and he's been working, I'm not saying that the other industries are not, but he's been working very, very closely with College of the Albemarle, with Workforce Development. They designed a boot camp for him, and they were able to hire some people through a program. So he's aware of the challenges, but he's pushing forward.
Good deal.
Good deal.
And then the last thing we have on is a travel request for Steve to go to the North Carolina League of Municipalities Conference, and if nobody else has anything, we'll send that on.
I was shocked that no one else was going, to be quite honest.
I think it's important.
But
Yeah, I think it's great you're going.
Yeah, thank you.
We've gone every year since I've been here, and I didn't know I was going to be the only one this year, but
Well, I
I'll
think
try to
that's-
bring back as much as
Yeah,
I
I
can
think
if
it's
it's
good to have
appropriate.
somebody there. So that's it, Mayor.
Well, the time of the week they're having it, I think constricts a lot of people from being able
does,
to go.
Yeah, you used to have it Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and early Tuesday morning, you're out of there, and I wish
Yeah.
they'd go back to that, I really do.
On that, before we go on to the next committee, on the, going back to the grant again, is that a state policy change? Does that apply to all potential grants that have been approved but not yet funded? Or are they making this one project hire all these people for 6 months before they release the money?
what I was told was for boat builders, this is the policy going forward. They have implemented this policy for other business sectors as
Okay.
well, but I couldn't tell you which ones they
No,
were.
that, I mean, as long as it's universal, I mean, that's fine with me. But anyway, just a question. All right, next we have Public Works Committee meeting, and that'll be chaired by Councilman Stallings, please, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. We had 2 items on the list tonight, but I believe the first one, the utility cloud, we decided not to bring that up tonight. Is that correct?
Yes, we need a little more time to finish our presentation.
Okay. And the other one we have is the sidewalks for South Granville and West Water Streets. And if you recall, we received some grant funds from the NC Downtown Redevelopment Fund to connect sidewalks on South Granville Street from West King Street to approximately Dock Street on the north side of West Water Street. We received a low quote on that for $13,900 for somebody that we recently used, and they did a good job in this type of thing. So if you're okay with that, we'll send that on to full council as well to do those sidewalks replacements. Steve?
I'm not on.
Yeah, you are. I'm sorry. It's Sambo and
Yeah, I'm fine
Mr.
with
Booth.
that, yeah.
Okay. We'll send it on full council.
Very good. And with that, we have just completed our agenda for tonight. So thank you all for your attention and participation. We'll keep the ball rolling. We'll see you at the, May council meeting. Meeting adjourned.